Good morning, young ladies. My name is Miss Jan, and welcome to Boys and Girls Club. We're so glad you decided to join us for Smart Girls. Smart Girls is a program that has been provided by Boys and Girls Club of America. It is a small group that includes health, fitness, prevention, education, and self-esteem to enhancement program for middle and high school girls, which allows them to explore themselves and discover things about growing up and to make smart choices. So our first activity is called Welcome to Smart Girls. It includes giving girls chances to become familiar with one another and teach girls about respect, trust, confidentiality, and effective communication, which are the key components of the program. So we're at the club and we want you guys to participate. Whether or not we're at home or in club, we want you to be active and engaging with us. So that's why we're providing this online service to you in place of us having physical club. So this is our virtual program, and it's no different from being in person, yet it's online. So first off, I want to make sure that you have permission with your parent or your guardian to be online and participate in the summer program activities. Secondly, I want you to grab your club on the go bag. It has all the material that you need and the supply that you will probably need for this activity. But last but certainly not least, have fun. And at the end, you can leave your comments, you can take the quizzes that are provided, that are assigned to these videos, as well as present your work. So are you ready? Do you have your supplies? Do you have your bag? You ready to go? Awesome. Okay, so let's get started. You will need a journal that is provided in your club bag. If you don't have a journal, you can just get a random sheet of paper and a pen or a pencil to take notes with, as well as something to make sure you have like a good enough writing space or like a hard surface or something like that. So without further ado, I would like to start by introducing myself. Once again, my name is Ms. Jan, and I will be the facilitator for this program. And a little bit about myself is I work for Boys and Girls Club in Greater Baton Rouge. I am 27 and I have a passion for just children and young people and just teaching them the things that they should know to make their lives better than pretty much I had. I had a good life, but you know, it's not it doesn't hurt to help a person not have to go through the same hardships that you went through. And that's specifically what we're going to be talking about today and in other sessions of like this. So I would like for you to write on your papers 2 facts about yourself and 2 things that you like about yourself. So I'm going to start off by saying the one fact about myself is that I like to sing. Another fact about myself is I actually write poetry. One thing I like about myself is that I can get along with pretty much anyone. And another thing that I like about myself is I like learning, like whatever it is to learn. I used to love going to school because, I mean, I had this thing about me that I actually liked learning new things. So I love learning new things. Okay. So our first thing on the itinerary is to go over our Smart Girls contract. So when I say contract, You guys might think of certain things like a cell phone contract, or like a contract that you, for your parents, or one day you might have to sign a contract to own a home or an apartment, which lists certain things that you have to do, and if you don't want to do those things, certain things will happen, and blase blase. But in this contract, it's kind of the same but a bit different. So with the SmartGirls contract, you will be tailoring this program. It's for you. I just give you the tools and the materials, but you make it your own. So this is a program that is designed specifically for young children, young adults, you know, for them to take hold and take charge of the path of their lives, right? So we're gonna give you the things that you need to help you grow in, not just mentally, but physically and emotionally, and just to have you as a whole person. So what I would like for you to do after you have written those two things, those two facts and two things that you like about yourself, if you want to submit that at the end of this video down below, you can, but it's not required. But what is required is for you to submit your contract. So what I mean is, you have to list on the paper what you are going to do in this club, or this portion of the program of the club. So for example, the first two words are I will, and you will list 8 things that start with I will. So the first one could be I will attend SmartGirls every day, or I will be good to others, or I will respect others, or I will have fun, or I will make the best out of, you know, a tough situation, or something like that. So I want you to just take a minute to write those 8 things down, and at the end, when you're finished, I want you to either print or sign your name. If you don't know how to write in cursive, that's fine, but you know, just have whatever you want in the first 8, sign your name at the bottom, and then date it. So I'm gonna give you a minute to do that. And while you're doing that, I'm just gonna make sure that you guys understand that even though we've been in this tough time of being quarantined, and a lot of people are excited about being released and things opening back up, it's still kind of like we're not back to normal in a sense, you know, because they only allow a certain amount of people. Like I think they said about 25% of, you know, that population in that area, or, you know, any portion of any group of people to come in at one time. So make sure you guys are just staying safe, washing your hands for 20 seconds at least, and just wearing your face mask if you're going anywhere, things of that nature. So yeah, just making sure you're well and that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And once you've completed and submitted your contract, in the later sessions, we'll, you know, just review the contract. I'll compile them and we can review them every session just to make sure that we are, you know, on the same page with things. So And while you guys are still writing, I'm just gonna go on into a little bit about this thing that we have called a mentoring program, which is because you guys are in high school right now, you may have younger siblings who are females, or people that are females that are younger in your neighborhoods or in your schools, or people that you know that you can mentor. So I want to speak to you guys about that. So if you're interested in mentoring like younger females, it doesn't even have to be a part of the Smart Girl program, because I know this isn't like a traditional summer camp setting kind of thing. But if you have people that you know that might benefit from this, if you want to be like, as I would like to call, a big sister to them, just make sure you look into that. We have mentoring programs that you can, research and, make sure you follow up with that. So you also can earn chances to mentor, younger siblings or cousins or, nieces and things of that nature. Even if it's not like on a professional or like, technical basis, you can still mentor them. And how you can mentor them without, being with them or anything like that in person, while you're with them in person, just make sure you're being like the right person, like doing the right things that you know that you should do. Like don't be, all out, like, dressing inappropriately or, speaking bad about another female or person around them. If you want that younger person to grow up and, be a good role model and a citizen, you have to be that first. So people learn based on what they see more than what they hear. So if you have a younger sibling that's a female, she picks up faster and more than what you're telling her by what you show her. So if you really want to be a good mentor in a younger female's life, you can just do that. So I'm assuming you guys are finished by now. You can also receive badges by becoming a mentor. So yeah, you can refer to the bgca.org website for that, but we'll get into that on a later session. That brings me to a portion of this session, which is called a question box entry. So if we were in person or in real life, I would hand you out a sheet of paper, strips of paper, where you can actually fill it out, because they have lines on it where you can write on it rather. Well, you can input or submit a question about, anything basically. It doesn't have to be any particular topic or subject or anything like that. So it's just whatever you want to ask. If you don't have anything to ask, just keep, the paper if we were in person until you have something to ask. And normally we would have a question box set up somewhere in the room or the club, or you can just, before you leave for the day, drop your question in that box, and it will be read or addressed if it's appropriate to be addressed at that time. So if you have any questions like that you would like to ask, like, hey, what's your favorite color? Hey, what do you do in your free time? Things of that nature, you can just ask those freely. And if you have any questions, you can just put it in the comment section, and we'll be sure to get back to you on that one. And so right now, I am going to introduce one of my colleagues, Mr. Charles. He's going to play a fun little game with us.
Hey, Ms. Jan.
Hi, Mr. Charles.
Hey.
Hello. This is Mr. Charles.
I'm Mr. Charles.
Yes. Actually, I forgot to tell you to bring those 2 pieces of strings over here on the table, if you don't mind. This actually has it should have a little bit to do with what we're doing in this session today, but it's kind of like an icebreaker that we would do if you guys were here in person. So what I'm gonna do is give me one piece of string, and we're both gonna do, we're gonna take our string and wrap it around our fingers until all the string is gone, and try not to wrap it too tightly because you will cut off your circulation. But if you don't have yarn or string, you can just, you know, do something different. So what I like to call this game is string in a story. So I'm going to unravel my string, and while I'm unraveling my string, I'll just make up a story and until I finish my string, and he'll continue the story with anything that he wants to add while he's unraveling his string. And if we had more people, we could make a really interesting story. So I'm gonna try to go slowly so you guys can get the, you know, the gist of it. All right, cool. All right, so one day I was sitting on the beach and a whale washed on the shore, and I was like, whoa, where did this whale come from? So I was like, hey, somebody come help me. There's a whale on the beach. I don't know what's wrong with it. It looks sick. So then
she called me, and when I got to the beach where the whale was, I started to take a pail of water and throw on the whale until the marine biologist arrived. When the marine biologist arrived, they were able to put the whale back into the ocean safely. That's right.
Yes. Good job, Mr. Charles. And I would have, you know, continued the story, but it goes on like that. So it's like a fun little thing that, you know, we used to do, you know, when we were in school and stuff. So I learned this neat trick and game from, of course, my other co-worker colleague. So, Mr. Charles, while you're here, I would like to ask you some questions.
Yes, ma'am.
So we're going to be talking about 3 or 4 different, you know, things like in this first session, and I would like to get your input or your opinion on what each of these terms means and how they are important in, you know, everyday life. So the first term is respect. So what do you think respect means like to you?
Well, first, respect. Respect, I feel, is something that everyone should be given. I know it's this cliche term where people say to give respect, you have to give it. Even when someone doesn't respect me, the person I am, I'm going to always give you the respect that you deserve. I also believe in when you give respect, when someone doesn't give it back, give it to you, you're always being the bigger person in the situation. Also, respect can take you a long way. You never know who you come into contact with, and this person can, you know, be someone who can set you up for life.
Yeah.
But if you disrespect them, they won't help you. But as long as you give them the respect they deserve, they will help you. So that's what I feel about respect.
Yeah, that's a very a good point that you made when you said, you know, there are people that you might actually be around that you know, might, you know, need something from someday, and if you like disrespect them, you know, you probably just blew your chance of getting whatever they were about to give you or were thinking about you for an opportunity about, but you just blew it because, you know, you didn't respect that person, or you actually acted in a disrespectful way while in their presence. You probably weren't disrespecting them at all, but, you know, because you have presented yourself in a disrespectful way, like, you know, if you're arguing back and forth with somebody and it's not, you know, like you're in a professional environment, that shows that you don't really have respect for the people that are around you. So respect goes in a lot of different ways. So the definition of respect is due regard for the feelings, wishes, rights, or traditions of others. And so as young ladies, we first have to respect ourselves. You know, in this community, at this day and time, as young ladies, you have a lot of good role models and also a lot of bad role models that are female. And so in the music industry and any other celebrity that you guys are watching or influenced by, just make sure that you know what you're portraying is not a bad thing. You know, what you pick up from them isn't a bad thing. So in order for you to receive respect, you first have to respect yourself, because nobody's going to respect you if you don't respect yourself.
Right.
If you don't respect yourself, you're just giving others the right to disrespect you, which isn't always right, but that's just the way it is. You
And
know.
we see it all the time.
Yeah. For it, well, I can't even think of an example, a good example. Can you think of a good example of?
Well, since we're talking with high school young ladies, being in high school is a really life-changing experience.
It's
You can remember being in high school, like
yeah. Oh,
high
boy.
school and going to college.
fun.
It's a whole lot going on.
Yeah.
You're trying to find yourself. It's a lot. But if you go into these environments and you're not respecting yourself, it'll be a lot of people that don't respect you, and it's numerous actions that can come out of that. So if you have self-respect, others are going to respect you back for
Yeah.
the most part.
Yeah.
It'll always be somebody who
Yeah.
just won't, but
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, as long as you respect yourself,
Yeah. And
others will respect.
And that goes into being a young lady, like a good young lady, like growing up with a strong mindset. It can give you self-respect like no other thing will, you know? So that's pretty much all I have for that. The next word is trust. So I feel like because of the people that are in high school, specifically young ladies, like they have a lot of trust issues, and I think that goes back to some type of self insecurity or poor self-image, whether or not they seem like the most confident person in the world. Sometimes they lack the trust in people, and most of the times we can be honest and say like it happens in like relationships. If you trust somebody, you will tell them all of your business and all that stuff, which is fine. But when mad day comes, you might want to watch out, because whoever you're telling all this stuff to, just be sure that that person was actually for you. Even if y'all fell off, if you're on bad terms, you make sure that you can trust that person, because at the end of the day, you can't control what they do, what they say, but make sure what you're telling them is something that you actually, are comfortable with everybody else knowing, like after the fact. When you look back on it after you graduate out in high school, when you go to your 10-year, 20-year high school, reunion, you can look back at it and laugh about it, because you made a mistake or you did something that you weren't supposed to, and it's just basically something that you would have to work on if you haven't started on it yet. So another thing with trust is, I'm speaking from experience here, but basically you can't always trust people. With certain things, you can't put your trust in everybody. And specifically, like, you might be, with a guy, calling him your boyfriend and all that kind of stuff. And, he tells you he loves you and all that. And, you feel the same way about him, but, you never know what he's doing on the side, which is a common case in high school, because not every teenager knows what they want at all. Like, none of them have it figured out. Even as an adult, you won't have everything figured out. So, let alone in high school or middle school. So, when you feel like, your gut is telling you something about something, it's probably mostly right. That something wrong is going on, or even something good is about to happen. You have to find that trust in yourself, because all this stuff is about self-worth, self-help, things of that nature. Like, you have to start with yourself first. So when it comes to trusting somebody else, make sure you can before you start telling them any and everything about you. So that's all that I have to say about it. You have anything to add, Mr. Charles?
Trust is one of those things. It's easy to give in the beginning, but when you break someone's trust, it's hard to regain.
Yeah, very true.
It's very hard.
Very true.
And it's male or female.
Definitely, it goes both ways.
Yeah. You break my trust, it's just like, well, why would you do that?
Yeah, and especially when you care about somebody, whether it be even like your parents, you know, if you trust in them, if you believe in them for stuff, you know, and they don't come through, like, you know, how do they change in your sight, you know? How do you think about them now? And of course, it's important to forgive and, you know, all of that stuff. But, you know, when you're young, it seems like the end of the world. The end of the world. Like, when somebody does something that you don't want them to do, or doesn't do something that you expect them to do, that they told you that they would do, like, you know, at that age, you're like, I hate you. I wish you were never born, things of that nature. It's like, it's not that big of a deal, but at that time, it's all that you know. You know nothing else. You haven't experienced any other part of life except childhood, you know. So when it comes to trust, like, don't take it for granted, you know. If you want people to trust you, show that same respect and trust them in return if you feel it's a good thing to do. So, next word is confidentiality, which means keeping things disclosed or secret. So I know we've all been to the doctor and we've heard the term, if we have heard it, the phrase patient-doctor confidentiality. Many people might not know what that means or have never heard it before, but basically what it means is the doctor is not allowed to tell any of your information to anybody else without your permission. And so that's a big thing concerning like programs like these. Like, we're not allowed to tell anybody else what you have shared with us, you know? And that's what I feel actually kind of builds the trust with, you know, you and the person or the adult that you're connecting with. Like, if you share something with that person, you can trust that they won't tell anybody that you don't give them permission to share with. So even in relationships, you know, outside of this program, if you have a mom or a dad or a boyfriend or a girlfriend, a big or little sister or brother, and you share that, you know, that type of connection where you know, want them to keep your secrets for you, you have to, you know, be able to reciprocate, which means to do the same in return. And so when it comes to confidentiality, if I share something with you, I expect you to keep it private and not disclose it and tell everybody else about it. And if you tell me something, you expect the same thing from me. So yeah, what do you have to say about that, Mr. Charles?
That word actually goes back into trust.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I trusted you enough to tell you something.
Right.
I confided in you.
Yes.
So don't go back and say nothing else to somebody else that I told you.
Yeah,
without asking me first.
If I wanted to know,
I would have told them. Definitely.
Yeah, I didn't read the definition of trust, but it means to firmly believe in and being able to depend in something or someone. So that's what trust means. The next and final phrase is effective communication. And because we're in this age of technology and social media, I believe that is the most difficult thing for this generation right now, because we rely so much on communicating through text. And shucks, people would call me old for saying email, but you know, things of that nature. They don't know how to respond in like a way that in person, like in a face-to-face communication dialogue kind of thing. They kind of lack in that area because, you know, of the attachment to devices and phones and computers and laptops and tablets and these things. So I feel like effective communication will goes a long way when it comes to basically any and every area of life. When you have effective communication, you can pretty much, you know, handle and accomplish anything, because with effective communication, you can get your point across in the best way possible with the person or whatever it is that you're trying to do. Like, you can get your point across what you're trying to explain to them in the best way possible, and it won't be any hindrances, it won't be any confusion, it won't be any you know, setbacks, because you have made your point clear. And that's what I feel like a lot of things get misconstrued, because in a text, one thing that you say can be interpreted in a totally different way, and everything can go up in the air, and the whole day is just ruined because of that set of text messages. And I have so many stories about this, and I only am going to share with you one. So when I was in high school, I had a best friend. She was a year older than me, but, well, a year ahead of me, because at all the years of my life, I actually hadn't hung out with other kids as my friends. It took me a while to actually hang out with the classmates that I had in high school. Like, I was forced to hang out with them after the senior class graduated. So when I was in high school, I think she had just graduated, and it was her senior year, and I was still at the school. She was gone already. So I was then a senior after she left. So I had a best friend, and I was still dating my boyfriend. I was just, you know, head over heels in love with that guy and all that stuff. He's not my ex, but she was trying to warn me about talking to that guy and, you know, just getting too attached. And of course, because he was going out of state to go to college. And he was like, you know, she was like, you know, you never know what he's doing out there, and and all that stuff. But like, we were communicating through text. So, you know, everything kind of got misunderstood. I was talking to her through text, and she was talking to me, and everything got misunderstood on my end. So, yeah. So that's an example of how effective communication can actually destroy your relationships, your friendships, and all those things like that. We actually stopped being best friends, but we, you know, reconnected now. But yeah, so if you don't have anything else to add, Mr. Charles?
I think I'm good.
Okay, so the final thing that we would have to, like, I'm going to ask you to do is just continue taking notes and things of that nature in future sessions. Also, with this section, I would like for you to reflect on how would you put what you learned about respect, trust, and effective communication into practice throughout the rest of your life, whether it is like for the next day, week, month, year, anything like that. And also, how will you apply that into future problems or things of that nature? So I just want to thank you guys for spending time with us, and give a hand clap to Mr. Charles for stepping in as our guest.
Thanks, y'all. Y'all have a good one.
Bye-bye.